Did you listen to a lot of that late night radio stuff from the Midwest, like from Chicago and down from
New Orleans? Yeah, New Orleans and Beaumont, Texas. You know, those all-night stations that had those
50,000
powerful.
Yeah, those 50,000 watt clear channel stations.
So I listen to that all the time. Yeah, Jimmy Reed.
And when you first heard Woody Guthrie? And that whole
Guthrie, well, Woody Guthrie, it's funny because the first group I heard, like folk music group, was a Kingston Trio. Like everybody did. I think they were really hot for a while. And I heard them, and then I heard, Harry Belafonte, and got into that side of things, you know. And then...
Wasn't that your first recording session? Didn't you play on a Belafonte session, play the harmonica on a boat?
Yeah, I think I did. Either him or Carolyn Hester.
Carolyn Hester?
Yeah. She was a big discovery of John Hammond, actually. Carolyn was a beautiful girl. Long brunette hair, you know, big hips and blue eyes, and she was a guitar player from Texas, and she was married at that time to Richard Farina, who later married Joan Baez's sister, Mimi.
Who was killed in one of them.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd known Carolyn. I think through Richard. He was a novelist at that time, and Carolyn used to play in the clubs, in the same clubs I played in. And one day she just everybody knew her, you know. One day she got a contract to record for Columbia Records and asked me to play harmonica for her. You know, so I did that. No, I don't know what happened, Carolyn.
Is it true you taught yourself guitar and harmonica?
Well, nobody really teaches himself guitar and harmonica. You just got when you don't know anything, first like you get a book or something and you learn. What I remember is I learned a couple of chords of some books, and then it's just going out to watch people, you know, to see how they're doing it, how they play those chords, and whatever people are playing. You don't really go so much to hear to hear them. You just go to see how they're doing what they do. You know, try to get up as close as you can and just see what their fingers are doing. And you know, in that early stage, it's just more like a learning thing. And that sometimes can take years. You know, like many years sometimes. Sometimes it takes people many years. Sometimes it takes people. To me, I've kind of picked it up rather quickly, but I didn't really play with that much technique. People really didn't take to me because of that, because I didn't care. I didn't really go out of my way to learn as much technique as some of the people. I know people that made a complete profession and livelihood out of playing John Lee Hooker chords. Just hammering on, on the E string, and that was all. And they could play it in such a beautiful way, they looked like a ballet dancer. And when and everybody had a different style. They had styles and they had techniques that especially in folk music. There was your Southern Mountain banjo, and then flat picking, your flat picking technique. Your finger picking techniques, and just all these different runs, and different styles of ballads. Folk music was a world that it was very split up when there was a purist side to it. Many people they didn't want to hear you if you couldn't play a song exactly the way Aunt Molly Jackson played it, they didn't want to hear you play it. So I just kind of blazed my way through all that stuff. I would you hear somebody do something, and finally you get past a certain point, it's like, well, what do you want from that? I mean, you can learn, it's this, you might want to learn the song or the lyrics, or you might want to see how they're playing, you might want to pick that up, that style they're playing. I don't know, I mean, I just stayed up day and night, just barnstorming my way through all that stuff. And then I heard Woody Guthrie one time. Before I got to New York, I heard Woody Guthrie, and then it all came together for me.
Do you remember the first Woody Guthrie record you heard?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the first Woody Guthrie song I heard, I think, was probably called Passions of Plenty. And you can play that on the show.
Yeah.
Passions of Plenty, and Pretty Boy Floyd. And another song that he used to write a lot of his songs from existing melodies. Those, and a couple other ones, maybe like Grand Coulee Dam, and they really impressed me.
Talkin?
Oh yeah, because they were original. I mean, they just had a mark of originality on them, but the lyrics did. And 1913 Massacre. Have you ever heard that? You heard it? Mm-hmm. Or I just learned all those songs. I just heard them. I learned them all off the records. I learned them all the songs of Woody Guthrie that I could find. Anybody that had a Woody Guthrie record or that knew a Woody Guthrie song. And in St. Paul at the time where I was, there were some people around who not only had his records but that knew his songs. So I just learned them all from him. Some of the best records that I heard him make were these records that he made on a Stinson label with Cisco Houston and Sonny Terry. I don't know if Leadbelly was on there or not. I heard Leadbelly too, actually. I learned a bunch of his stuff and learned how to play like that. But one of the biggest thrills that I ever had, actually, was when I reached New York, whenever it was. I got to play with Cisco Houston. No, I didn't. I don't know if I actually got. Yeah, I did get to play with him at a party or something. And but I used to watch him. He used to play at Folk City when I played Folk City, and which was a different Folk City than it is now. It was just different. Folk City was in a different location. It was
on the square, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's across the street from where the Bottom Line is now. And. It was more of a nightclub looking place, It looked more like an uptown place, but it worked for where it was. And Cisco, we would play there for 2 weeks at a time. And I'd watch him all the time. He was an amazing looking guy. I mean, he was like Clark Gable.
Yeah.
He was a movie star.
He reminded me a little of Tennessee Ernie, actually.
Yeah.
Also very unheralded.
Oh, completely, like one of the great unsung heroes of all time. One of the great American figures, and no one you ask people about him, nobody knows anything about him.
When do you think you started to develop something that was uniquely yours? So you were talking about playing Woody Guthrie. Yeah, you were talking about playing Woody Guthrie.
Yeah, well, I was doing the Woody stuff. Well, New York would do that to you. I was playing all Woody Guthrie stuff. When I came to New York, that's all I played was Woody Guthrie songs. Well, about 6 months after that, I had stopped playing all Woody Guthrie songs, but I used to play in a place called Cafe Noir. And it used to open at noon. It opened at noon, and it closed at 6 in the morning. And it was just a non-stop flow of people. Usually they were tourists, who were looking for beatniks in the village and things. And they used to turn over, you'd play, there used to be maybe 5 groups that played there. I used to play with a guy called Fred Neal. So we wrote the song, Everybody's Talking. That song was the Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah.
And Fred was, I don't know where he's from, I think he was from Florida.
Coconut Grove.
Yeah. But he had a songwriting deal with in Nashville. So he used to make that scene from Coconut Grove to Nashville to New York. And he had a strong, powerful voice, and he had an almost bass voice, and a powerful sense of rhythm. And he used to play most of the songs that somebody like Josh White would play. And I would just play harmonica with him once in a while and get to sing a song, when he was taking a break or something. And so I get to sing a song once and play the harmonica the rest of the time. That was him. That was his show. He'd be on for maybe a half hour. And then a conga group would get on called the Los Congueros. And with 20 conga drum players and bongos and steel drums. And they would play for, a half hour. And then this girl, I think her name was Judy Rainey. She used to play sweet Southern Mountain patches, Appalachian ballads with electric guitar and small and fun. And then another guy used to sing on there named Hal Waters, who used to sort of be a crooner. He used to sing kind of like Leon Bibb kind of thing. He used to sing, and then there'd be a comedian. And he'd go up for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and then an impersonator. And that would be the whole show. That would be like this unit would just go around non-stop. So you'd know where you went on, after whoever it was. And then you could eat there, you got fed there, which was actually the best thing about the place.
How long was set would you do?
I do, half hour, 40 minutes, and then go back on. The community, I think, only did tell you was hooted up. So if they didn't like you back then, you couldn't play. If they liked you, you played more. If they didn't like you, you didn't play at all. You played one or two songs and people would just boo or hiss or something.
Well, this wasn't your own stuff you were singing there. I mean, I
never started playing my own stuff until much later.
Yeah. Is he young? Put on some shows for you in the back room.
He was back room.
But didn't he have
Back room was about as big as a coffee table.
Is he still there? Is there still?
It's a different place, I think.
He could have. I don't know.
Well, where did you start to perform your own stuff?
Well, I just drifted into it. I started writing my own songs someplace along life. I was kind of wrote my own songs, but I never really would play them. Nobody played their own songs. The only person I ever heard doing it was Woody Guthrie. And then one day, I just wrote a song, and it was the first song I ever wrote that I performed in public was the song that I wrote to Woody Guthrie. And I just felt like playing it one night, and I played it.
They started printing them in that little periodical that was down there.
Sing it. Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So that started you. Did you go through a period? I mean, was writing something that you had always wanted to do, or was it basically from the Woody thing?
Not really. It wasn't a thing I wanted to do ever. I wanted just to sing a song to sing. And there came a certain point where I couldn't sing anything. I had to write what I wanted to sing, because what I wanted to sing was nobody else was writing. I couldn't find it anywhere. I mean, what I felt was going on, nobody was writing. I couldn't find that song someplace. If I could have, I probably would never start writing.
So it was kind of to express self-expression. Yes.
Yeah.
The writing, was it something that came easy to you? Because it is a craft you do very well, and you talk about it as a casual.
It does come easy. But then after you make so many records, and the years kind of just go by. It's like sometimes you just don't know anymore whether, am I doing this because I want to do it, or because you think it's expected of you? Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So you start just to, I got to write a song. I have time to write a song, and you try to do something, but it just won't come out right. And at that time, those kind of times, it's best just to go and sing somebody else's song.
Bob, when you write the songs today, do you still write them like they used to? You used to deliver to me yellow legal-sized pads with the lyrics written on them.
Yeah.
Still do it the same way?
Yeah.
I was telling Bert earlier tonight, I have the original yellow legal-sized sheets that you gave me of Blowing in the Wind.
What are you going to do with those?
You want them? Historic interest.
Right.